Mike. Can I just ask one question about the crystals? Like, what is it about crystals that our body connects to, and why does it help change our vibration?
Do you want to answer this? Or do you want me to?
I think Mike is the best person to answer this because it ties. I know you want to hear it from me, but it is the best way for him to tie in the energy work, because this explains it. It's all about energy, and he.
You just do your thing, Mike. Just keep that in mind. That question I had
All right.
there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I had to learn through all my years of training and experience, and this was a hard one for me to truly accept. I understood it conceptually, but to actually live it was a different story. And it's this the concept, and we talked about it already, that everything is energy and everything has a vibration to it. Even the word emotion, when you break it down, actually means energy in motion. So if we start to look at everything as a different frequency or a different state of being, what's really wonderful about crystals is their molecular structure is actually perfect. The spacing between them is perfect and nothing changes on a molecular level with the crystals. Therefore, a crystal has a very specific energetic vibration. So if we think of something like rose quartz, which is commonly referred to as a stone of love. So part of the energetic vibration that is rose quartz vibrates at a similar frequency that we vibrate at when we experience something that brings us into a state of love or joy or happiness. So that's why people who are in a more like a depressive or anxious state or very down on themselves, if they carry a piece of rose quartz or have a piece of rose quartz around them, it's not going to instantly change their experience, but what it's going to do is energetically put that vibration of love, joy, or happiness in their energetic field, which will encourage us to raise up to that vibration and actually embody it. So Sylvie's holding a piece of rose quartz here.
And the beautiful thing is you don't have to physically have it with you. Anybody that does energy work.
Can I finish?
Continue.
Sorry, I lost track. Sorry, I lost track of where I was going with that. I apologize.
So you were saying how if it is in your presence, it takes us or encourages our body to move into that direction of vibrational frequency.
Yes. So that's not just about crystals too, but that's if we also start to look at the people in our life, and I know Sylvie touched on this, the people in our life, the places we are, and we start to understand what's the energetic vibration of those places. Do those places lift me up and support me, or do they bring me down and work against me? And that's all ties into what Sylvie was saying is when we can start to feel the energy in our body, we become much more aware of what's happening around us and what it is in our environment that is actually creating those experiences or those feelings within us. And just to sort of elaborate on your question there, do you know how crystals got their meanings? This happens because somebody sat down with a piece of rose quartz who was sensitive and says, oh, I feel calm, I feel joy, I feel loving, I feel supported. And so somebody says this, it gets written down, and then other people will pick up that crystal and they read that list of things and they say, oh, I feel that too, I feel that too, and I also feel this and I feel that. So we have to remember that those meanings that we've associated with these crystals are one person's interpretation of what that crystal can do for you. And yes, there's a lot of commonality and a lot of people will have those familiar experiences, but it's more about how do you feel when you pick up that crystal? Don't worry about the sheet of paper it comes with. How do you feel? What emotions does it bring forward? What memories, what feelings, what thoughts, all of that stuff, because it's more important on how do you feel or how does the crystal make you feel rather than trying to force a feeling based on somebody else's interpretation of it. Does that answer your question, Robin?
Yes, definitely 100%.
Okay. So one thing I did kind of want to share here, and I know this is something that Sylvie really fought me about for many, many years. And this was something I actually had to teach myself how to do when I was in high school, overwhelmed by all those energies. And this is something I teach a lot of my clients who are very sensitive. So to me, I'm a very visual person, so I'll use a little bit of visual aid here. So, and I'll use Sylvie as an example. So when Sylvie was becoming very overwhelmed by her environment and the people around her, because she is a very strong empath. And if you don't know what an empath is, that's basically someone who has raised their vibration to a point where they're very sensitive to the emotions and the energies of the people around them. And they typically will take on the emotions and the energy of whatever someone else is going through. So to me, that's a sign that everyone's energy are like arrows pointed towards that person. So Sylvie had all these people in her life, even people she didn't know. There were times we were shopping and her legs would collapse underneath her because she was overwhelmed by the energy of someone who walked by her. So what she was doing was really pulling all that energy into her so she could feel it, so she could understand it and interpret it. And the way she fought me on this is like, if I don't bring it into my physical being, I won't be able to understand what's happening around me.
How do I feel without feeling?
Yeah.
I didn't know how.
So what I had to train myself to do when I was in high school, and what I was really encouraging her to do for a long time, was to actually turn those arrows around. So I actually will walk into a space and push my energy into that space. And I use my energy, pushing it outwards in all directions, 360 degrees, and an orb around me in all directions. And I use my energy like a radar or a sonar and how that works. So I'm sending the energy out and I still get those blips of information. Oh, that person over there is sad. That person's angry. This person is grieving, or whatever it is they're going through. But I don't have to pull their emotion and their energy into my physical body to interpret that. Again, as I'm using that visualization and a simple breath of just a and push that energy out into the space and still pick up all that information and not be overwhelmed by it. And how has that changed your life?
It has, once I finally stopped fighting him and saying, I can't, I'm too sensitive. It doesn't work that way. This is how I am. I've been this way for 40 years. I can't do this. I finally, after practicing and continuously practicing, I finally managed to actually get this to become my normal. And it has absolutely changed my world, because I don't get overwhelmed by anything anymore except for his energy. And that's the last part we're working on. But it's been mind-blowing. It has been absolutely it's lifted so much issues from me, because I needed to feel everything. So I truly was pulling in, and I felt I had to hold on to it. I could pull in. I didn't learn how to let go. I had to learn how to let go, but now I don't have to do that anymore, because it's not a question of letting go. It's a question of just feeling like a bat now. That's how I look like. I visualize like a bat, and that's how I pick up my information, and it absolutely has changed my world. So,
well, what's nice about being able to push your energy out into a space too, is sometimes because my energy can be pretty strong, sometimes me just pushing that energy out into the space, well, all of a sudden people will change. People's emotions, whatever they're going through, the stress, the trauma, whatever it is they're holding on to in that moment, will actually shift, because there's been a change in vibration and frequency in that space. And those people are open enough and sensitive enough to actually accept that new vibration. So it's amazing how quickly just one person can change the energy of an entire space just with intention and thought.
it's funny how you say that, because it does most certainly go that way, but it can also go the other way.
Yep.
You've never,
Yep.
if you ever notice, like maybe you're not taking on their stuff, but like somebody's really cranky and it's like pinging you all over the place. It's like,
Yes.
get rid of those.
Yes.
So the arrow thing, you actually taught me that a couple of years ago, and I've carried that with me for a long time. And then in amongst like learning about the oils, I use that visualization with tea tree specifically, putting the tea tree on when I'm going into situations where, and I kind of look at it like I have this mindset that it might not go so well, but I don't want to have that mindset. I want to be open to it. So I think of the arrows and I put on the tea tree and away I go. So something else that came up for me when you said that you can, Sylvie, you said you could manage it all now. Like, do you find though, like you have to work on it constantly? Like it's something you work on daily, or it's
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
perfect.
Just like breathing, it's something that you need to do all the time. It
But it's becoming easier.
is becoming easier.
It's becoming routine.
It is. It's routine now, because at first learning anything new, especially for me at 40, I was like, nah, I don't need to do this anymore. I thought I had already done all of my learning, and now I'm having to learn a whole new world, new language. Energy is a language. Once you learn to interpret that, oh my goodness, it is the most magical thing. But yes.
I was hoping you would say that, because I was just
Yes.
kind of trying to get into that whole idea of like, it's something you need to stay consistent with. It's not going to stop.
Yes.
You can't just do it one time, or you can't even do it 10 times and it's done. You can't do it for years and it's done. You have to keep working on it.
Yeah.
So
It is like eating. We need to do it every day.
right.
For me, when I started to sort of play with that visualization, that idea, for me at first it was a lot of conscious effort, where I would actually have to sit there and take 4 or 5 deep breaths and like, right, and every out breath I was pushing that energy out. But I learned, and this is with anything, when you start to learn, what does it feel like when I do this, right? So I get that feeling, the in breath, the out breath, push, and I would train myself. Okay, this is what it feels like to be in that safe, protected space and to feel everything around me. And the more I learned and the more I trained and the more I practiced that, I'm actually at a point now where it's as simple as me just going a quick breath in and out, boof, I'm in that feeling, I'm in that place. But I've trained myself over the years how to be in that place. So it's even something like meditation. Once you've achieved a certain level of meditation and a certain feeling and an openness that can occur through meditation, you don't have to necessarily sit there for 3 hours to achieve that every time. You can remember that feeling, remember what it is like in your body in that place, and you can call it back in. And you can even use some of the EFT techniques that it was Kathy, right? That she talked about. You can use things like that. You can even create your own special magic word that when I hear this word, boof, it takes my body and the cells of my body and its memory back to this feeling. So
and that's called, isn't it like neuro-associative conditioning?
correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
And scent is highly connected to that too, which is an amazing feature of oils as well. Because it brings you right back to that space.
But we know it can have the opposite effect, right? If you've been, gone through trauma and there's a specific smell, sometimes just that smell will take that person back. So we have to sometimes do a disassociation, and that's where my energy work will come in, is to help to break those associations with the unhealthy patterns in that person's life, so we can then reform it into a healthy structure that actually supports them.
Yes,
So
like
on that note, we know that people locally here in Sussex now know that we can go to the crystal store and you guys can help people find what crystals that they can help change their vibrations or go for whatever the feeling is that they want. But Mike, what else is it that they would do specifically with you? What sorts of things are you doing on your side of things? Like,
well, I run my natural therapy clinic is in the same building here. So again, I've been practicing professionally for about 20 years. And I work to help bring people out of those limitations, that perceived limitations that they've created in their life, and how they're impacting them, whether that's mentally, emotionally, spiritually, or physically. A lot of the times people show up with physical ailments such as back pain or a digestive problem. But through all my training, I know that there's more to it than just a tight muscle or a pinched nerve, right? So a lot of my training stems very deep into the theories and concepts of Chinese medicine, and how every part of our body actually has an aspect of our consciousness or our personality. They all play a different role in our emotions. So I've learned how to start to make those connections, and to understand that this dysfunction that's happening in this person's body is associated to the specific memory, the specific emotion, the inability to express this emotion. Maybe it's ancestral stuff that's been passed down through the family lines. And my role is once I sort of discover what it is in their body that's creating an imbalance or isn't communicating effectively, either with itself or with another part of the body, I then dip into my large toolbox of tools I have at my disposal, and utilize the appropriate energetic frequency. So it's very similar to how the crystals work to bring the energy up to a specific vibration. Instead of using a crystal, I use my own intention and my own vibration to then raise the vibration of that person. And as I'm going through the work, they may have the memory play by like they're watching a movie. They may have an emotional release. Their body may start twitching and moving on the table as the body is releasing the energetic garbage, really, that's stuck in the body. I've had people get up off the table and be 2-3 inches taller just from the stress that has left the body. And that can really work to help anybody with any concern they've got going on in their life. The thing I just ask of my clients is just be ready to move forward and to accept the new life that's coming for you.
So we use sound healing.
Yeah.
As well.
Sound healing and crystals in my sessions as well. So we have a large assortment of crystal singing bowls, metal singing bowls, a gong, didgeridoos, and using the vibrations. Because again, we are nothing but vibration. And disease in the body is nothing more than our body out of its natural healthy vibration. So using these different instruments and sound equipment is really like a way to reset the cells of the body back to their factory settings, and then upgrade them to the highest possible level that they can be in at that moment.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing. It's like a massage from the inside out.
I agree.
I've
I've been to a sound bath, and I've been to like a one-on-one session, maybe two. I can't remember, but I do just, it's something that has got to be experienced versus explained. It's same with the EFT tapping, same with like utilizing oils to try and heal, all the things. You gotta have that desire to want to have something help you, to let that outside object, thing, person be open to helping you. But the biggest thing I think is identifying, letting yourself be aware that it's okay to be mad, it's okay to be sad, it's okay to not know why, but identify that you want to make that change is probably one of the first steps.
Yeah.
So do you have any advice?
My big advice was the just learning how to turn your energy and use your energy to feel your space around you, rather than let the other energy come in, because that's huge. Another big thing I like to encourage all my clients to do is learn what a healthy boundary is. Learn what it is that you need in your life in order to sustain a level of peace and comfort in you, and that it's okay to say no.
Yes.
And a lot of people have a very hard time, especially, I've noticed, especially women, especially if they are a mother. They have a really hard time looking out for themselves first, because their main concern is making sure everyone else is taken care of. But for a lot of people, that's usually at their expense. And they let people walk over them and take advantage of them. And so that's a big thing both Sylvie and I have had to learn together, is what are our boundaries, what are our limits, what is okay, what will I accept in my life, and what is too far, and learning how to enforce those boundaries when they're encroached upon, because somebody will start to push on that boundary, and if they're not getting resistance, they'll push more, and they'll push more, and they'll push more, until they're through all those defenses and they have basically manipulated their way into getting what they want. And one of the hard things about setting and enforcing those boundaries, though, is that you may push some people actually out of your life. But if you push anybody out of your life because you've set a healthy boundary for yourself, that's a sign that those people were there doing nothing but taking advantage of you and using you. And in setting those boundaries, what you're actually doing, not only are pushing people away, but you're actually attracting people into your life and your experience that support you, that will accept those boundaries and love you for those boundaries. And that's how your life will really start to change, because you're letting not only the people around you, but you're also letting the universe know what you will accept in your life.
So would you agree that you have to almost like set the boundary, say no, but let go of or accept, I guess, the guilt that comes along with that?
No, because there shouldn't be guilt.
So what would you say to somebody that like initially has that guilt? How do you pass through that part of it?
How do you pass through that? Well, if they start to look back at what is more preferable for them, the circumstances in their life that were creating disharmony and struggle and pain, or setting those boundaries and being okay with that. Because a lot of the times, they might say they're both equal, but one you have control and the other you don't.
Right.
So when we start to take control of our life, and we get to make the choices, and when I get to make the choices for my life, I can create the life I want. I lived a life for far too long where I was trying to make other people happy, and not honoring who I was. Yes, I had some selfish tendencies back then, but I wasn't honoring who I really was and what I really wanted. And a lot of that had to do with my friends. I couldn't talk about with my old friends about spirituality or energy work because they would just laugh at me. So I had to change who I was to be accepted by them. And that wasn't okay with me after a while, because you know what? Spirituality and energy is who I am. And it's how I express and experience my life. So again, I chose to change who I was to be accepted by them, but I actually wasn't honoring and bringing forward the best possible version of me I could be, by not accepting who I really was. So that's important. It's, the guilt, yes, it will be there, but as you enforce those boundaries more and more and more, and you start to see the positive impact it has on your life, the guilt starts to disappear.
I agree. And you get so much more confident when you start identifying and working through it. It just takes some time. You just have to be committed to wanting to make the change.
Yeah. I had a good friend of mine would always say, you get the courage to do it after you've done it.
Yeah.
Great
Yes.
advice. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
Okay, well, there you have it. I appreciate you guys being here. I love how tonight we kind of worked kind of showing a lot of our emotional body. We're talking a lot about our emotional body, and tomorrow we're going to get more into our physical body. And Angie, she's on the call here. Can't wait. She's going to talk about sleep, and I can't wait. And I already started asking her questions on that. So just to end this evening off, I want to come back to some of the points that our speakers have already talked about in their story and kind of give you just another version. So I was, like kind of already mentioned, I identified that I love to make people feel good. And I actually had a lot of people telling me that I did it naturally without even trying. But I was in a relationship for a long time where all my focus was on him, all of it. It wasn't till I brought a little person that I now had to take care of that I realized, like, holy, I don't have any control here, and I don't want this poor little being to have to deal with that too. And not that there was anything wrong with the situation, it was just that I couldn't help. So what was I doing there? So it wasn't until I ended it and realized, I remember that very first night where I was all by myself. So my boy with his dad, and I sat in a car and I didn't know what to do. I didn't have anything that was mine, nothing. So it wasn't until that moment where I was like, holy, I really need to start working on this, right? But it took a long time to get to even just this point here. So I wanted to kind of come into, I know I've been an esthetician, I've been all the things. Well, Mary, she's on the call here, maybe she'll come in on the camera, and I am an empath. So when I was getting married, I had a couple of bridesmaids actually that they just did not get along. So I was in that position where I didn't want to have a bachelorette party because I didn't want to be anywhere near them both at the same time. I didn't want to do it. So I reached out to Mary and I said, you know, those 4-hour events that you do, can you do like a little mini one? Because I know I can't sit still for that long, but let's make it like a 2-hour thing. So she did that for us, and she implemented crystals and oils, and it was just awesome. And I tell you, after we were done, everybody loved each other, and it was a perfect night. And I reached out to her right after. I said, I don't know what you did, but you either blocked their energies for me, or you just made me so happy that I didn't give a shit. And like, maybe it was a little bit of both. So I got in contact with her, and she said, Robin, I don't know, maybe you're not going to do anything with them right away with the oils, but I know that you will eventually. So like, I want them for my wedding. I have to keep this vibration. I have to keep this feeling for the wedding day too. And it really did not take long after experiencing how the oils affect us so much that I slowly, over a whole 2-year span, Mike, you remember last January, we did our very first presentation together. I didn't notice the difference in myself, but there's so many people that are like, this is different. You're getting more confident. And I'm starting to realize it. I'm starting to feel it myself. And that is why we're doing the self-care summit, because I just want to show everybody, take examples from all of these speakers and all of their stories, and realize like we're all different, but we're all the same, right? We're all growing. We all need to work on ourselves, and it's literally the only thing we have control over. So why not start taking some more time out of your day to make it happen? Make it happen without the guilt. Don't worry about who can come and go. Like, you're the only one, like Kathy said, that you go to sleep with and that you wake up with every single day. So does anybody else want to add? I know we have a few people watching. If you guys want to come off your cameras and ask questions to Mike and Sylvie or myself, feel free. If not, we might as well wrap her up.
I have a little question. Hi, Mary, and hi, Robin, and Amber, and Elaine, and Joe Price's iPhone. Nice to see you all. I don't know who that is. Sylvie and Mike, I just wondered, Mike, I know about your crystal shop because I pass it several times, throughout the day. It's in such a great location. And I didn't know if you guys are from Sussex or not. And then Mike mentioned he went to a humongous high school with 2,000 to 3,000 people. So I don't think you went to high school in Sussex. Do you mind giving us just a little bit of your background and how you ended up with a crystal shop in Sussex?
No problem. So I'm originally from just outside Toronto, community there known as Markham, Ontario. So it was one of the suburbs of Toronto. So nothing but kilometers upon kilometers upon kilometers of housing. And so when I was in high school, there were only 3 schools in the community. So it basically, you went to one of the 3 high schools. And I lived in Markham for 37 years, born and raised in that community. And part of the issue I had in that community is because I was there for so long, everyone in the community had their vision of who I was supposed to be. And I started my career as a registered massage therapist for 14 years. And when I started to learn more about energy work and tried to introduce that into my practice, I had a really hard time because my massage clients saw me as a massage therapist and wanted nothing to do with this other stuff. So really throughout a single day of work, I would have to put on 5 different costumes depending on who I was working with, because I had to meet them and their version, I had to present to them their version of me that they had. And that gets exhausting because none of those versions were actually who I was. And so that was slowly really breaking me down and wearing me out. And I guess it was what, 2 years after we got together?
2 years.
Yeah, 2 years. Both Sylvie and I were just being overwhelmed by the rush of Toronto. And we thought Northern Ontario was going to be where we were going to move. Then we went up there for our honeymoon and realized it's just the same as Southern Ontario, with just more trees. And,
It was still Ontario, so next.
then we just kind of looked at each other one day, and at the same time, out of nowhere, we both just went New Brunswick. Her family was originally from New Brunswick. I had never been myself. And we took a 4 days off of work, 1 day to drive to New Brunswick. So we spent 2 days driving all around the province, trying to figure out if this is where we wanted to move and where. And it was the moment we came into Sussex. We parked over at the train station. And the second I put my foot on the ground, I got this surge of energy through my body. And I just looked over at Sylvie and said, "We're home." And we spent the next 3 or 4 hours just walking around the town. It coincidentally happened to be the balloon fiesta that weekend. So the town was alive and vibrant. And just everyone we talked to was so encouraging and welcoming. And we ended up going home. I closed up my practice. She quit her job. And a month later, we moved here. And 2 weeks ago, it's been 5 years since we've been here.
Well, fantastic. What a wonderful story. Thank
I
you.
know,
for
it actually,
sharing
it just
that.
brought me to tears. I hear it all the time, but it just brought me to tears again because I just realized, you know, it took a lot, of courage and a lot of, I don't know, just a lot of everything. And it was wonderful.
But what was really helpful about us moving, because we moved 2 provinces away, we had no family here, no friends, nobody knew us. So it allowed both Sylvie and I from the very first day to just be who we are, unapologetically, just be us. And actually one of the first people that I really did meet here in the community actually was Mary. And being able to sort of just be who I was, and to understand that there's people out there who actually want to get to know and accept who I am without the judgment and the ridicule and the laughter and the snickering because I'm talking about spiritual stuff. And what we've actually found too is, with us being able to be who we are has encouraged the people that we brought into our life to be who they are. And when we are together as a group of people just being authentic, that's when the magic happens. That's when the beautiful times and the beautiful memories happen, because there's no games, there's no bullshit, just real authentic people. And if somebody's around us and they're having a really bad day and they just have to cry, please do. Be real. Don't hide any of that stuff, because we want to hold that space and that vibration for people to be real, because we're being real and we expect that from other people.
I don't have
Wow,
a
thank
problem
you.
being real. I cry all the time for everything. So anyone who knows me knows that. I'm sitting here, I'm just like, I'm so grateful for everybody. I'm just having one of those moments. It's so
That's
beautiful.
really nice. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I love that. Another great example, just be brave enough to make the move, to be yourself. And I love this tribe. Hey, once Mary identified that I needed to have some confidence, like, look at all these lovely people here watching and all the people that are all ready to watch the replay later on. I'm so excited. Thank you all so very, very much. But how I just want to end it is with a